Greetings, esteemed listeners. Today we will embark on a journey to explore a story that is not merely confined to the pages of history books, but also resonates as a profound reminder, a valuable lesson for each of us. It is the story of the rise and fall of superpowers, of seemingly invisible laws that operate with astonishing precision, shaping the destinies of the most powerful empires. Have you ever wondered what led to the downfall of civilizations that once dominated the world, empires that seemed invincible? Was it mere coincidence or a series of random events? Or is there a certain law, a recurring pattern throughout centuries that we can learn from and apply to our own lives, to the development path of a nation, or even a business or an individual? Over the past 500 years, the journeys of three global superpowers, Spain, Britain, and the Soviet Union, have painted a clear picture of an astonishing collapse pattern. Despite differences in time, geography, and culture, their stories followed a similar seven-stage script, like the rising and falling notes in a symphony of destiny. This is not just history, it's a mathematical equation, a natural law that disregards anyone's specialness or exception. It simply operates. Let's delve into each stage of this pattern to clearly see how the seeds of decline are sown right within the heart of prosperity. The first stage is excessive military expansion. Military strength might seem like a symbol of power, but when it exceeds its limits, becoming an unbearable burden, that is precisely the beginning of collapse. Maintaining a vast empire with hundreds of military bases across the globe demands immense resources, depleting national treasuries and diverting resources that should otherwise be used for domestic production and development. The second stage is currency debasement. When spending exceeds earning capacity, empires often resort to the easiest solution, printing more money or devaluing the currency. This erodes purchasing power, diminishes trust in the financial system, and causes people's assets to gradually evaporate over time. It's like trying to fill a leaky bucket with water. The more you pour in, the faster it drains away. The third stage is debt spiral. When military expansion and currency debasement are insufficient to cover costs, borrowing becomes a dead end. Debts pile up, interest rates soar, and a large portion of the national budget must be allocated to debt repayment instead of investing in the future. This is a financial trap where the more you try to escape, the deeper you sink. The fourth stage is loss of productive capacity. When focus shifts to military, financial derivatives and services, a nation's true productive capacity weakens. Factories close, manufacturing jobs move overseas, and the country becomes dependent on imports. An empire cannot maintain its strength if it doesn't produce the basic necessities for life and development itself. True strength lies in the ability to create value, not in the ability to consume. The fifth stage is social decay. As the economy weakens, debts pile up, and production stagnates, cracks begin to appear in the social fabric. Trust in institutions erodes, crime increases, and the gap between rich and poor deepens. Widespread discontent leads to political dysfunction, division, and disunity. A society that no longer believes in itself, in its core values, will struggle to stand firm. And finally, the seventh stage is complete collapse. This is not a gradual decline, but often a sudden, unexpected event that shakes the entire world, like an ancient tree rotten from within, which can be toppled even by a gentle breeze. Let's look back at historical lessons to better understand how this pattern operates. The story of Spain. In 1590, Spain was the wealthiest empire in the world, with ships laden with gold and silver from the New World. They dominated a vast empire, stretching from Europe to the Americas. But within just 80 years, this empire went bankrupt and became a second-rate power. Why? They fell into excessive military expansion. King Philip II constantly engaged in wars in Europe to defend the Catholic faith and maintain power, while also incurring enormous expenses to protect his vast overseas empire. Resources from the colonies, though abundant, could not bear this burden. To cover costs, they brazenly implemented currency debasement. The silver vellon currency was continuously devalued, leading to hyperinflation and weakening the economy. The result was a massive debt spiral. Spain had to borrow from European banks, and the debt continued to grow, causing the nation to declare bankruptcy multiple times. At the same time, the focus on colonial gold and silver led Spain to lose productive capacity domestically. They neglected agriculture and industry, becoming dependent on imported goods from neighboring countries. Finally, social decay ensued, with the rise of an idle nobility, a lack of a productive middle class, and the corruption of the system. From a brilliant superpower, Spain became a weak power, a stark warning about the futility of wealth not accompanied by production and wise management. The story of the British Empire. In 1914, the British Empire was the largest empire in human history. The sun never set on its territory. The British pound was the global reserve currency. But within just 40 years, they lost their empire and their currency collapsed. Britain also experienced excessive military expansion. Maintaining such a vast empire required a powerful navy and troops stationed everywhere. The two world wars pushed this burden to its peak. To finance the wars, Britain devalued its currency by abandoning the gold standard and printing more money, leading to inflation and eroding the pound's purchasing power. This led to a massive debt spiral, especially debt to the United States after World War II. The cost of rebuilding the country and maintaining military commitments became an unbearable burden. Although Britain had strong productive capacity during the Industrial Revolution, the cost of maintaining the empire and wars led to a loss of productive capacity relative to emerging powers like the United States and Germany. As a result, Britain lost its superpower status, the empire disintegrated, and the pound lost its global reserve currency. Once again, history shows that even the greatest empire cannot defy the law of financial and productive balance. The story of the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union, a superpower in 1991, is a prime example of sudden collapse. Within just 900 days, a seemingly solid empire ceased to exist. The Soviet Union engaged in extreme, excessive military expansion. The arms race with the United States, coupled with military interventions in Afghanistan and maintaining a network of satellite states, devoured a large portion of their GDP. The Soviet economy experienced prolonged economic stagnation, a form of loss of productive capacity. The inefficient centralized planning system, lack of innovation and competition, led to shortages of consumer goods and outdated technology. This resulted in currency collapse and a severe financial crisis. When the system no longer generated real value, the currency became worthless, and the people's trust in the state was completely lost. The collapse of the Soviet Union is a powerful testament to how, when the stages of this pattern converge, collapse can occur with astonishing speed, not as a gradual weakening process, but as a sudden end. So, what do all these stories mean for us today, and especially for the United States, the current leading global power? What is surprising is that the United States is currently following this exact pattern and has completed 5 of the 7 stages. This is not a judgment, but an objective observation based on proven historical lessons. Number 1. Excessive military expansion. The United States currently maintains over 750 military bases worldwide and has the largest defense budget on the planet, far exceeding the combined military spending of many other nations. The cost of maintaining this global presence is an enormous burden on the economy. Number 2. Currency debasement. Since 1971, when the dollar decoupled from the gold standard, the currency has lost 98% of its purchasing power. This means that to buy the same amount of goods and services, you need 50 times more dollars than before. This is a form of hidden tax, silently eroding the value of everyone's assets. Number 3. Debt spiral. The United States currently carries a national debt of up to $36 trillion, and this figure continues to rise at an alarming rate. Annual interest costs have become one of the largest expenditures in the national budget, surpassing even defense spending. This creates a difficult-to-escape vicious cycle, where to pay off old debts, new ones must be incurred. Number 4. Loss of productive capacity. The United States was once the world's leading manufacturing power, but in recent decades it has become heavily dependent on imports. Factories close, supply chains disrupted, and self-sufficiency in production is severely